Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. Terrell and I, we're going to be reviewing the new series Willow, which is going to be returning after a long time in the making, should we say as well, too. Coming to Disney Plus November 30th. There are 8 episodes. We got a chance to check out the first 3, and we're here to give you a non-spoiler review of that. So, Willow came out in 1988, so a lot of folks may never have heard of this, but it is under the Lucasfilm umbrella. So, in case you were thinking that it was only Star Wars under there, you're young millennials. There are other IPs as well. Indiana Jones is also returning very soon. So, this was one that came out in 1988. I will say that it was like a thing. Like if you knew, you knew, and if you didn't, you didn't. But it by all means is a very much part of the DNA of this very popular genre and dark fantasy adventure. So when you're talking about the likes of Lord of the Rings, which is banging right now, and then even with House of the Dragon right now, it's also overly popular. You have a Wheel of Time right now. You got so many of these very popular franchises under this genre that this is one that should be talked about as well too. And my first instant reaction to this is that it is very, very, very clear that it is not 1988 no more. And although I think the film probably still could hold very strong right now, but I got to say my instant impression with the cast returning, about 98% of the cast returning, the production looks amazing, and they instantly let you know that they got some dollars behind this because I with Disney being on Disney Plus, being it that is 2022, it's no, and this is the sequel to the film, but yeah, it's night and day difference in terms of the production, and there are clips and footage used from the film in this, and when you see that, it's not even a brainer, which I have to say too. For real, Warwick Davis, who plays Willow, he hasn't aged at all. Got a chance to meet him at D23, but he hasn't aged at all. And when you see the clips of him then and now, you may not know if it's actually the current timeline or was it, from the previous film. But the production in terms of the CGI, the world that they're building in the environment, everything looks top tier. And that's why I love the dark fantasy genre, because you always, especially when it's in terms of like an adventure or some type of exploration, you can ensure that the world is always going to look granular. That's where you want to put your money at. You could care less what's happening with the actors and whatever quest that they're going on, but the world has to look good for me to be invested into. Right. And I thought that was my instant impression that like, oh wow, yeah. Yeah, it's been a while, but here we go. What's your first reactions and thoughts about the franchise in general?
Man, I mean, honestly, like you said, 1988. So it's been what 33 years since we've come back to this world, and this is one of those, like you said, LucasArts, IPs that was supposed to have gotten a sequel a long time ago, or like something a long time ago.
Yeah.
Because when this came out, it was hot, like toys, video games, everything that you were seeing Willow everywhere, like and my first came into it, it was through the video game, the arcade game, which I found out about this movie, and I've always liked it. Like you say, like the first one was directed by Ron Howard, back Mr. Happy Days back in 1988. So just to give you kind of a feel of what that original movie was, and now we're back in this age of, we're getting a lot of high fantasy in 2022 on TV, from Game of Thrones to, like you said, Wheel of Time to whatever. But this particular show is like they're trying to kind of like, it kind of feels like it's out of the original's feel, even though it's not that far down the timeline from in the continuity of the movie, and kind of give it like this modern feel, which feels kind of weird like a lot of the time when watching this. Not to say the characters or anything feel different, because I feel like they did it, like you said, 95% of the cast, 99% of the cast is there, and you feel like you're back in the world. So I definitely love it, but it's just certain things that just kind of don't make sense to to try to bring into this particular world, I think. And a lot of it too is like they've gone from using a lot of the practical in the 1988 to now we're in 2022. We have a lot more CG that we can use, which, you know, when you look at movies like Labyrinth and, you know, stuff like that, that was kind of fitting that franchise. It kind of feels like it's two different things when you watch this. But overall, I mean, I'm definitely enjoying it so, and I'm just enjoying it so far and loving being back in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I jokingly said to you, I said that, you know, a lot of the folks who grew up that went to the theaters to see Willow do not own Disney Plus. It's just a generational thing. And it's not to say that Disney Plus isn't accessible. It's not to say that it's not on every bit of televisions or streaming devices that you have. But it's a way of with the times, you know, folks really get accustomed to how they want to consume their media. And that's just what it is. The situation with this is that, you know, you have to service a bunch of different audiences. You want to service the folks that's looking for their next big dark fantasy adventure. You want to service the folks who has Disney Plus, and that's just a loyal subscriber that's looking for their next thing to binge. And then you want to service the folks who were a diehard, who was part of this cult fan base. It's like, oh, okay. I knew they were trying to do something years ago. I thought it was a lost cause, but I mean, what a time to be alive. Everything is getting a look at now to be revived. And, you know, that's why I feel like, yeah, the especially when it comes to the first episode really establishes who these characters are instantly with no emotional connection to it. It's just like, these are who these characters are, and that's all you need to know. And let's go to the next episode, where in fact the film gives you a lot, especially when it comes to like sorcerer. Now Queen, by the way, Joanne Wiley is back. Very dope, by the way. It's always a beautiful thing when people can reprise their roles, especially with so much time has passed. She's fantastic. Got a chance to talk to her at D23, and can I tell you, she is beyond passionate for this. I mean, she was just choked up talking about it. Interviews available on the channel now. But, you know, knowing what this character had been through, and then to kind of see her now kind of established as the queen, and, you know, she gets a little bit of action early in episode 1, but she also kind of takes a step back from who I know this character to be, to going to handle the business herself. And I understand the hierarchy now and being a queen, and you can go folks to do your work, but it's a little bit of a step back into what I know this character to be. So you know, it's those type of things where it's just like we have this emotional connection with this character, and we just kind of accept what the character is going to be now. But folks who come into it now may be like, oh, okay, queen doing queen things, cool. She's the queen, I'll just let it be. Oh, the queen can swing the blade a little bit because she's the first one to draw a weapon in this series, by the way. And it's just like, okay, cool. But understand that, like, yeah, she can swing the sword, but she's also completely badass. Don't get it twisted. Like, if she has to come from behind the throne, I feel like she's totally capable, but we don't technically get that. Same thing with Willow, who, you know, when we're talking about the need for magic here, and Willow being a sorcerer, and we see sort of a dilemma in terms of when and where to use his powers, to the point that there's even a little bit of conflict amongst the other peers in terms of like, is he really who they say he is? And obviously his journey, in which I'm not going to talk too much about, but his journey is about picking and choosing when to use his magic.
Right.
It's been a while. He has to wipe the dust off of this a little bit, and there's some other constraints involved which I won't give away. But it's that type of thing, and it's like, if you come into this new, and if the show is built, if the title of the show is built off this character, the character introduction isn't coming off as if this is like the sole source of everything that is to come in this series.
Right.
I will cheat ahead and say that episode 3 definitely puts everything I just said to rest, though. It definitely is a game changer. But I mean, still, when you're introducing to a new audience, and you know the show is titled Willow, wow, let's see Willow do some things. You know, if you're hyping Willow up, let's see Willow do some things, and we don't quite instantly get that. And so I don't want to steal your point, but I know you said that like the first 2 episodes is sort of a slow burner. It To me, the
Yeah.
first episode is establishing the characters. The second episode is sort of establishing what the quest is going to be, and then the third episode, I think, really starts to really tap into who some of these characters are, and what we can possibly expect from them going forward. Which I say, Willow then at that point tells me to shut up and say, okay, cool. So let me show you what I got real quick with the
Right.
amazing production and effects of this century. So yeah, so yeah, stick around. I know I'm interested in seeing the rest, but definitely stick around if you feel like it's a little bit of a slow burn. Episode 3 will definitely get you back on track. Now I talked a lot. Go ahead now.
Yeah, I think that we're in this era now of course, the Disney Plus, and not just shows on Disney Plus, but any show, any movie, any franchise, or any movie that we're picking back up from whatever. I think we're killing the idea of happily ever after stories. You know what I mean? Like, because now we're coming back. Because when you leave a movie, it's like, okay, the queen gets with so and so, and that's the end of the movie. Cool, happy ending, let's go. But the reality is like, what happens after? What happens when she has kids? What happens when all this happens? So it's not as bright as when you come back into it 30 plus years later as it was when you left it. And I think a lot of people have an issue with that because they want to leave it in time where it was. Like, I want to leave it on the happy note. They don't want to see characters progress. And I think that's what they're going to get a lot of with this movie, is because they don't want to see their heroes at a certain point or a certain low when they come back into it. Well, that's not the queen I remember. Well, look, time has passed. She, we got some kids. We got Willow doing this thing. This, that, and the third. And I think that's a big thing for this movie is, like, obviously the characters have aged, and the characters have aged with us, and the movie and stuff like that. And we're gonna see some changes that with that one movie you're not necessarily probably going to agree with, but I think that's these series exist to give characters more character development, to give them more to do than they had within a 2-hour film where they're probably on screen for 12 minutes. Yeah. And I think a lot of people, like, they get upset when we start to fill in the blanks a little bit more of, like, okay, it's a little bit of background story, a little bit of what they potentially could have been, what they could have done, stuff like that. And this show is doing a really good job of filling us in more of the world, because, like I said, in the 2 hours of the movie before, I don't really feel like we got a lot of detail other than, okay, we got to beat the evil queen XYZ, and we get a little bit more of, like, what's going on with other characters that exist in the realm of this world, which I really, 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 really like. And like I said, we've seen the first 3, but I can't wait to see where this goes going forward with this series.
Yeah, we talked about the 99% of the cast returning. One very iconic actor and character that you can almost not talk about this series, this franchise, without mentioning him is Val Kilmer, who we just recently saw in Top Gun, which was an amazing cameo. He's been struggling with throat cancer for a couple of years now. So, the means of how they had this character used in Top Gun, I mean, chef's kiss. They handle it amazing. Right. And you could only hope and think, would he appear in Willow? And there's been a lot of mixed reports. One that seems to be the confirmed report is that he will not appear. But the character does live. His character, the mercenary in Mad Madigan. I'm wondering how they're going to handle it. I wonder how they're going to pay homage to him. I mean, he's so iconic and synonymous with this movie that you have to do something. And I honestly still think that there's hopes that he does have a cameo. Maybe not as his character, but he is in there, because him being in there and you recognize that's just good enough. And I think that's sort of how they're going to kind of play around with that, because, he's alive, and I know it's a struggle, and I know if there's an opportunity for him to be a part of this, he's absolutely going to take the chance, and that would be cool. So that I just wanted to give him a shout, because it would be criminal for us to be talking about this and not mentioning that.
Yeah, that's probably the number one question for sure. Like, what's Val Kilmer? What are you doing?
Yeah. But talking about the other characters, I talked a lot. Let's kind of go over some of the other folks in this.
We got Ruby Cruz coming in as Kit, who is the queen's daughter. We get a little bit of probably gonna get a lot of backlash from people who just hate. They be hating on this character. You know, she's clearly, you know, she's a gay character in the show. I don't think, and you know, they revealed that pretty early on in episode 1. And you know, the same, you know, princess story. Hey, I don't want to live the life that's laid out before me, right? Like I want to kind of do something else. I don't know what that is, but then, you know, we get a little bit more of her character and what she is. We got Erin Kellyman returning. She comes back as Jade. We just seen her recently in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, being a badass super soldier. Because, you know, you can just take, you know, juice in the bottle with that. She does a really good job in the show. And like I said, they got everybody on here. I mean, like I said, Warwick Davis, I swear he's freaking immortal. Coming back as Willow, because, you know, they have various scenes where they kind of jump back in time, and I honestly couldn't tell you if it was they filmed that 30 years ago, 20 years ago, if it was to him now. But he looks the same, man. That's an actor that's definitely been hitting these getting that Lucas check franchise money for a long time. We got Ellie Balmer as Dove coming into this story, and she does an amazing job as a character in here. Your boy Tony Revolori, who we just seen be the Flash Thompson and Spider-Man, he's in this. That's probably the most surprising name I think I've seen. And even though I saw the cat, probably the most surprised because I've seen him in other stuff. And it's just like, all right, I'm not really expecting to see him in this like high fantasy comedy like show.
Yeah.
Like, what is he going to do? Like, who is he going to be?
Full transparency. So when at D23 and a lot of things were being announced during the Marvel and the Lucasfilm and the what's the other with them? It was three studios, Marvel and
Star
Lucas.
Wars,
I mean Marvel, Lucas Studios, and somebody else, and maybe Disney Television. I can't remember, but it was three studio companies. Maybe Pixar. I don't know. But either way, when things started to get revealed, and I was like, "What is Tony?" There's no Spider-Man here, Sony.
right?
So I'm like, "What is Tony Willow?" I was like, "Oh, that could be interesting." I think you say Erin and Tony were definitely like, okay. I'm definitely interested to see them sort of, from what our last impression was, especially with us loving Marvel and whatnot, to kind of see them switch up on characters a little bit. And yeah, you mentioned the two of them. I'm definitely impressed with where their characters are going right now. So yeah, it's just cool to see folks stay within characters that we enjoyed in one sort of genre, jump into another genre that we overly love as well too, and they're able to kind of really shake that character off. I'm not seeing Flash right now, which is dope, and I'm definitely ain't seeing the Super Soldier right now, so that's also dope. So it's just cool to see folks really get in there and be the best actors they could be.
Yeah, especially in the world where this world definitely has a lot of potential to expand into other seasons beyond, depending on, you know, where they take this. Like I said, we've 30-something years. I'm sure they have so many stories on the table that they've yet to tell. And like I said, it's a lot of characters, a lot of actors I didn't expect to be and come back for the franchise. But like you said before, I'm happy to see a lot of people come back and reprise some roles.
Yeah, Ron Howard is an executive producer there. Should mention that. Also, should mention an actor-wise at Amar Chadha-Patel, who plays Boorman. Also met him at D23, this thief that sort of has this very sleazy sort of personality, but I love this character because it's hard to tell what's true and what's not true, and I definitely think it's one of the ones that's going to cause sort of conflict. Already giving Kit a hard time, but I gotta say that Amar is very excited to be a part of this. He is a huge fan of this franchise, and I was automatically interested in seeing his character be inserted into the story.
It's fun. He's fun. Like he you tell like he's legitimately having fun on set. Like, you know what I mean? He's having a good time. He's got a lot to do too. So
like, got some combat skills in there as well too. So, you know, it's a little bit of everything with that character. But unpredictability is the word that jump out quickly to me. So yeah, I think, you know, we have to talk about what's happening here because we just threw out a bunch of stuff, but like what's happening in this. So the here's the thing. The Chrome is obviously still the threat. The Queen's daughter and Eric is taken in this little preliminary battle early in this episode. They obviously go get my son. But beyond that too, because there's that, and then there's Elora Danan, who, you know, we haven't mentioned her, so we'll mention her in 1 second. But this is a self-discovery of her importance, because she is a game changer to everything that had been written in the scripts and time and so on. And having to fulfill sort of a prophecy is a lot more than she is able to comprehend right now. So you have folks around her who are definitely like pro, yeah, I'm with you, I get it. You have folks that have reserve, and you also have a lot of other folks in this group of folks now trying to get Eric back, but also understanding that well, everyone's also looking for Elora now, and now this is like it's like an offense defense type of quest that they're going on, where they're like, we got to go get somebody, which is an offensive thing, but we also need to protect somebody that's with us. And there's a lot of self-discovery with a lot of these characters as well too. So you know, it's very clear that, you know, there's a mission for Elora here, and obviously beyond this mission of where she needs to go, there's also the service of protecting her, and or then everybody will, you know, obviously submit to the will of the Chrome, and that's sort of the dynamic here. And it's an adventure, guys. Y'all know the deal. It never is linear. It's always going to be a bunch of different things going different where. We also should mention Valentine, who is a servant of the queen that well, let me just say this. In pursuit of doing the queen's work to return her son, it seems just a simple thing to do, except there is not right with this character. And the only reason I mention this character is because this character instantly gives us a lot within the first 3 episodes, from combat to the mystique, to the special effects, costume design. They give us a lot with this character instantly, which I love. This is a good sign, because if we can have a character introduced in a 3 episode span and used in the way they did, it makes me wonder what is to come for the second half. If you could bring somebody in this quick and make us instantly care about a character, I'm just beyond curious to know what they're going to do going forward. But I got to say, this character is interesting. That's all I can give you. But I love me some Valentine instantly.
yeah, like I said, I mean, he definitely plays a big role in the story, and you know, makes his presence known as soon as the show comes on. So I think a lot of people going to be talking about him going forward through the franchise, or at least this story. Yeah.
And he's trained Jade, who's Erin Kellyman's character. So there's a little bit of a connection there as well. But what else we need to throw in there? I feel like there's something else I'm totally.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, we talked about, you know, Kit. We talked about, you know, kind of the journey of, like, you know, of course, the first movie is to protect Elora as a child, and, you know, of course, the question is, like, I feel like a lot of the show is like, what happens to that kid, right? Like, what happens to her as, you know, she gets older? What happens to, you know, just what happens to the realm? And I feel like this show answers a lot of those questions without, you know, obviously without spoiling anything, and, you know, revealing who that person is. But, like, it definitely every question you probably had that you wanted to know where this show picks off of from the movie, I feel like you get instantly within those first 3 episodes. We get introduced to the Chrome pretty early. We get introduced as to why the evil is back, basically. Which they explain within the first episode. No long, you know, sentence needed, but, like, they explained everything in the first episode. So everything that you wanted to know that's going to happen from that first movie into this, they get right into it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what else to say, but I guess we could just give our overall opinions now. We liked it. We optimistic. Just our general feelings again about it. Again, for me, I love this genre so much, and this genre isn't as brutal as some of the popular ones right now. Like when I'm talking about, like, Lord of the Rings and House of Dragon, A Wheel of Time, yeah. So it's sort of family friendly, and I don't see why I wouldn't fully commit to that. I'm just trying to think, was there anything that it's completely family friendly, no gore, no blood? I don't even think it is as well too. I think it services a lot of different age groups. I think it services a lot of different fan bases as well too. The production looks amazing. And the story that they're telling, I mean, we jump into it instantly. So if you haven't seen the film, I think you're okay to start right now. I mean, why would they make a sequel this far apart and say, but by the way, you need to watch that in order to watch this? You have kids now that will probably be like, what? I'm not watching that old crap, and that's a problem because you don't want to deter a whole demo because of that. So like, you can jump into this right away. Obviously still want to go back and check that out if you must, but going forward for 3 episodes, I think there's a lot that they're working with, a lot of possibilities. And I'm definitely on board. And again, as I said, for the world alone that they're building is fascinating to me. I just was looking like, oh, this is amazing. So and I think there's a lot of different characters that you can be king to instantly. You know, there's some characters that instantly jump out at you. There's some characters you kind of like stroking your chin like, I'm not quite sure what's to come with this character, but they're there. So you know they're going to have some significance. And I think that going forward, even though when we start to really get the fingerprints and sort of just the when the evil really starts to become a prominent part of the series, which I believe is probably going to be episode 4, you know, that's another thing to kind of be excited for. So yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, pretty much everything you were saying. Like I'm really, like I said before, I'm really digging coming back into this world. And like I said, to me, the first movie felt like the world was kind of small. Like it really wasn't that much to explore. But this gives me the promise that that we're gonna get so much more outside of the realm, outside of like the forest and like, you know, where Willow and them stay. So because before, like I said, it wasn't that big. Now the world, like they say in the show, the world is so much bigger than where the veil and all that stuff ends at. So but like I said, I like everything. My only issue is some of the lines, just I feel like they're trying to have this balance between leaving it in where 88 left and trying to modernize it, and it just doesn't mix well with a lot of times with the conversations. Some of the musical choices just don't really fit the story to me, or this world. I'm like, really, they use that? But other than that, the combat's dope. Like you said, special effects. I'm really loving the casting that they chose for this. Probably Kit's probably my least favorite character on the entire show, just because I can't stand her personality. But other than that, man, I'm digging it. I can't wait to see what the rest of this does.
Yeah, absolutely. You said something that just triggered. Oh yeah, another thing I think in terms of kind of comparison, when I look at this show feels a step above something that you would see on something in the likes of like Freeform and or you know, television in terms of like the toning, but because it is on Disney Plus, the production is much more better. Right. But again, it's just because of it trying to service that big array of audience, which I always said that Freeform and ABC Family, you know, I felt like that's what that was their niche, and saying that we want to be able to tell things and push the meter as far as we can, but also open it as wide as we can so that everybody can kind of have some bit in this, being as inclusive as they can for all these different demos. And that's what it feels like to me, is that this could be for somebody that's just looking for something that's like, oh, this looks kind of cool, let me just check it out. Or like, oh, I love a dark fantasy adventure. Or like, oh, I love Willow. Or like, I got Disney Plus, maybe I should just see what's up with this. Oh, Lucasfilms, oh, I didn't know they had anything else, let me see what's up with that. I think it's just giving you so many of those little different things that you know, I think that it will draw some attention. And for us to have checking out the first 3 episodes, definitely stick through at least the third to determine if you want to stick it out, because the first is a little slow, the second definitely starts to establish the world, and then the third is when I think things start to really kick into gear for you to actually want to be hunger real for more. Yeah, it gets real. Yeah. So yeah, Disney Plus, folks, November 30th, Willow, the series, the sequel to the 1988 film. Jump in the comments, folks. Let us know your thoughts, your excitement, questions you may have that we can talk about that isn't spoilers. And as always, stay tuned here for more reviews very soon. Big up
bell.